The people of the motherland have come. Unfortunately, I am Superman of Doom Chapter 9. Then, the black-haired girl glanced sideways at Pan-Hu and Yi-Meng. Her delicate and feminine face was calm without any change. And she continued to step into the teaching building without taking a second look. Tifa, behind her, a tall, handsome male student shouted and chased after her. Pan-Hu glanced at the man in disgust and said in a low voice, "That guy has been chasing for 3 years, and he still doesn't die." Quote. Pan-Hu chatted again. In his opinion, that person was definitely not worthy of Tifa. 3 years ago, it was the other party who brought the fierce dog to the school to wander around, and almost bit Meng. If not for the boss to stop it, the consequences would be unimaginable. Yi-Meng returned to the classroom. There are still a few days before the federal college entrance examination, and teachers generally do not attend classes anymore, and the rest are basically self-study classes, allowing students to review their knowledge for 3 years. Yi-Meng spent 1 or 2 lessons turning over all the books, and the whole process was like quantum reading. Subsequently, Yi-Meng closed his eyes and found that the knowledge of books could basically be memorized. The third time I entered the Marvel dream, although the feedback received in reality was far less than the second dream, it still improved my memory. Yi-Meng tried to open some arithmetic problems that he had previously felt obscure, and found that with a simple glance, before he began to make calculations, he had already figured out the process and answer of the arithmetic problems in his mind. It turns out that the knowledge of Federal High School is so simple. Yi-Meng was shocked. Liberal arts only need to endorse, science is to memorize formulas, and then substitute into the topic, and calculate according to the steps. Simple enough to dream of crying. For the first time in his life, he felt the difference between studying God and learning scum. Yi-Meng knew that it was not that the knowledge of the Federal High School had become simpler, but that his current brain power had far exceeded that of ordinary people. After reading the book, Make Up the Math Questions, Yi-Meng found that there was still a lot of time left, but he had not yet figured out how to deal with the artificial intelligence in the dream, and he also slept too much yesterday. After thinking about it, Yi-Meng suddenly turned over the history books of Federal High School. After experiencing some bizarre experiences and ideas recently, and rereading this federal history book, Yi-Meng suddenly discovered something strange that he had not noticed before. For example, before the 200 years of the Federation's history, there were 30 years of blank history without any records. 230 years ago, the world was generally at the level of the medieval era. That is to say, after the unification of the world. It only took 200 years for the Star Dragon Federation to complete the technological explosion and era leap that was completed in the previous life for 1,000 years. If the past life was a technological explosion, then this world can be described as a technological bombardment. How is this done? Yi-Meng suddenly remembered that in the Star Dragon Federation, there was the only mythical story circulating. 200 years ago, a meteor falls to the west, and a dragon takes off in the east. That is also the origin of the Miracle Empire, the Star Dragon Federation. Yi-Meng's eyes widened sharply, his brain was like a computer calculation, and an electrostatic light flashed in his mind. If that meteor and the so-called dragon are also from a certain film and television work that he knew in his previous life. Yi-Meng stopped thinking. 0011 Doomsday in Dreams. Yi-Meng suddenly realized that the current real world of rebirth is not as peaceful and natural as it seems. Perhaps in the near future, many world truths will emerge one by one, and that will be devastating to the order of reality. The world mixed into the heavens of film and television is creepy to think about. After all, there are too many supervillains and horrors in movies and television, such as giantization, fantasy, Cthulhu, mythology, magic bodies, super dimensions, ghosts, etc. And some setting concepts are enough to make people feel desperate. Of course, there is too little intelligence now. Yi-Meng is not completely sure whether this reality is the world after being invaded by film and television. If yes, hacked by those film and television works again? Sci-fi, fantasy, or horror? Terminator, Black Robe Picket, Game of Thrones, Conjuring, Pacific Rim, Godzilla, War of the Gods, Jurassic World, The Chronicles of Narnia, Grudge, Ultraman, Harry Potter, Resident Evil, Tales of the Night, Clover's Files, Ghoul, Killing City, The Wandering Earth, X-Men, Final Fantasy, Death is Coming, I Am Legend, Myst, Alien. Yi-Meng's mind quickly swept by. He had seen many film and television works before, and his heart sank every time he thought of it. Raise your eyes to look at the high school students who are immersed in revision and concentrate on preparing for the sprint for the federal college entrance examination. Amon's soft exhale forced herself to calm down. If he now has the ability to avatar Marvel's dream artificial intelligence, even 1% is enough for him to investigate the truth behind the scenes of the real world. But now, his brain is only spinning faster than others, and it is far from reaching the level of real artificial intelligence. We must dream again and acquire more artificial intelligence features. Yi-Meng quietly clenched his fists, and there was some urgent secret passage in his heart. He has a strong premonition that if his guesses are correct, then the future of the real world will be a doomsday catastrophe for mankind. Yi Meng's restlessness, the strangeness of reality, and the oppression of dreams made him not fall asleep at noon. Until the evening. After school, Yi Meng returned to the house and sat alone on the living room sofa with the white light on, sipping a drink. It is clear that alcohol is constantly paralyzing, but the brain is still turning rapidly, all kinds of thoughts do not stop, and it is completely impossible to fall asleep. Yi Meng's forehead and temples were a little burning, sweat wet his clothes, and his brown eyes under his silver hair were bloodshot. He looked out the window, the city was lit in 2s and 3s, and the city was as quiet as usual in the night. But tonight, Yi Meng somehow felt that in the dark corner outside, there was an unknown and terrifying existence lurking, peeping at himself and the city. Yi Meng suddenly felt angry for no reason, like the owner of the territory who was provoked, and he wanted to open his mouth to the sky and roar, rush out to tear the night and the sky dome. And kill all the beings who were secretly peeping. Call you a god and a dragon. Just kill them all. Even Yi Meng didn't notice that at this moment, his face turned hideous, his hard silver hair stood up back, and his eyes overflowed with violent red light. Ding dong. The doorbell at the door rang suddenly, and without waiting for Yi Meng to open the door, with the sound of swiping, the door was lightly pushed open. First, a beautiful leg wrapped in black silk stepped on black leather boots, and the hem of the school uniform skirt and black hair gently swayed and flowed, waving with dark fragrance. Under the light of the living room, a young black-haired girl walked in lightly and elegantly. If Pan Hu was present, he would definitely be petrified on the spot. During the day, he speaks of a perfect person living in another world. At this time, he skillfully swiped the card into the door as if he were returning home, and gently kicked the door floor with the front of the leather boot. Bent down lightly and took the leather boot off the foot, revealing a small foot covered with semi-transparent black silk, and the pink color of the white tender palm could be faintly seen. Yi Meng looked at the black-haired girl stunned. Why? How do you look at me? mtlnovel blinked playfully, she quickly took off her other leather boots, stepped on the carpet in front of the door, gently stretched her white and tender toes, and showed a bright smile on her delicate and feminine face, which had always been cold and indifferent outside. She smiled and asked, "Did you drink yesterday's decanting soup?" "Drink," Yi Meng subconsciously replied. "How does it taste?" "Not bad." "What is not bad? But I specially asked the master to teach it." Tifa herself took out a pair of small pink slippers from the shoe cabinet and changed them. She came to Yi Meng, crossed her waist and looked at him. Her light red eyes fell on the wine bottle opened at the living room table, and her thin eyebrows twisted gently. "Why are you drinking again tonight?" Meng Tifa's words stopped abruptly. As if she had discovered something, she suddenly leaned down, stroked Yi Meng's silver bangs away, and took the initiative to paste her forehead. Their foreheads clashed. Meng Tifa opened her small mouth in surprise. "It's a little hot, are you feverish?" "Already. It's okay." Quote. Yi Meng looked at the gentle and familiar face of the girl in front of him. The violence and anger in his heart had subsided, and the state of mind that had been unstable had also calmed down again. Reaching out to embrace the other party's body into his arms, and his face was naturally buried in the flat lower abdomen on the skirt. Tifa's face flushed slightly, and she suggested in a low voice, "Let's go to the room." Quote. In a single room with a bedside lamp. In the dim light, warmth intertwined in the air, and the beautiful curves undulated. Until late at night. Yi Meng opened her eyes and looked at the beautiful side face of the girl next to her who was wet with sweat and a few strands of sideburns. His heart was extremely peaceful, as if he had vented the anxiety and inexplicable anger in his heart. Just like 3 years ago. During the period of nightmares, Yi Meng also felt angry for no reason, and his temperament became very bad. It wasn't until I met the girl of the moment that the strange temperament symptoms were suppressed. Yi Meng also later understood that there is no better way to vent than to destroy something flawless. It is not so much that his symptoms are suppressed as that his symptoms are satisfied.